today we were talking about breaking points. And breaking points, it's a lot that goes into that. And I'm not just talking about breaking points when it comes to anger, but I'm talking about anger, stress, pressure, workload, prioritization, all the things that lead us to a certain breaking point, being burnt out, things of that nature, like all the things that we mentioned that go into breaking point. And what I was finding when I was kind of researching, and we've had this conversation before about how to just manage certain things and being overwhelmed, is that a lot of the things that would go for one treatment, so if you looked up anger management, right, what you might find is when they say, oh, here's the top 10 things to do for anger management, a lot of that is going to mirror stress management or time management or, emotional management. It's like, why are these tools kind of becoming repetitive? Why are there a lot of the things that they say when you're angry, do this, they're telling me to do when I don't know how to manage my time? And so in looking at that, one of the things that I came up with was just 4 things that I wanted us to be able to walk away with. And so I wanted to go into those 4 things directly. And as I mentioned, we're going to send these out so you guys will be able to have them and then be able to kind of reference back. But I want to just go through the 4 things. And then from there, we'll start to talk about some maybe personal breaking points or just things that came up and while I was taking notes in our introductions. All right. So when it comes to breaking points, the number one thing to do is breathe. And I know that sounds crazy, right? But it's not just about the breathing. It's about specifically the way in which you do it. So I'm going to walk you guys through it because I want us all to do this so you can kind of get an idea. So the first thing that you want to do when you breathe is you want to be intentional about your breathing. You're not just breathing and just breathing in and breathing out. It's breathing with refocusing your mind. If you train your mind, your body will follow. So the first thing that you want to do is that you want to focus on inhaling positivity and exhaling any negativity. So let's just everybody right now, before we get started, let's just take a deep breath in and then exhale out. So remember, inhale positivity, exhale negativity. One more time. Now when you do that, you want to focus on your body relaxing. So we're going to do it again, but this time when we do it, I want you to be mindful. I want you to drop your shoulders, unclench your fists, unclench your muscles, and relax yourself. So let's do 2 more breaths with those things in mind. Now, you compound that, now that you've kind of breathed intentionally, you compound that with talking to yourself. I'm in control. It does not have control. Whatever the it is in that moment. And even if it's a situation where that it is a person, I want you to still keep it. Not in a disrespectful way, but the it is what you're feeling, not the person that you're feeling it towards. So I'm in control. It is not in control. Whether it be the time, the financial pressure, the societal pressure, this pressure from a spouse, whatever it might be, I'm in control, not it. And whatever that, you know what I'm saying? Because that it can get really big and that it can get compounding. So that's number 1, is breathe. And like I said, just walk yourself, because it's great now because we doing it, we together, we got it. But when the heat is on, with De Niro saying heat, when you feel the heat in the back of your neck and you got to leave in 10 seconds flat, So it's easy for us to do it now, but this is something that, again, if you train your mind, your body will follow. There's certain things that we do that are muscle memory that we don't even think about that we do on a daily basis. There are certain things that we have been trained, whether it be through sports, whether it be through work, whether it be through family. There are certain things that we're trained to do that we don't even move no more. We just do it. So the more that we're able to do things like this, the more that you'll find yourself, you'll be at the highest level of festivity. And yes, that's a word. I got it from Don King. The highest level of festivity. And then you'll be like, I'm breathing. Wait a minute, I'm relaxing my shoulders. Wait, I'm unclenching my fist. And then, I'm not saying that's going to happen next week, but it might happen next month or as you continue to build that habit. So that's number 1, is breathe. Number 2 is talk in now. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when we're discussing things, especially when we might be frustrated or angry, we talk, but we don't always talk in now. Here's a clear way to talk in the now. Talk in the now is using certain words that focus on the now. For example, using the word I feel to describe the emotion that you might be going through in that moment that it's happening. And the reason that you want to do that is because calling out that emotion allows you to better manage it and understand it. And the more that you're able to call out that emotion in the moment, the more the person or situation that you're interacting with can also recognize where you're coming from. So as an example, if you're talking to somebody and maybe it's a spouse or coworker or whatever, and something's not going right, not going the way that you want it to go, you can say things like, man, I feel myself getting frustrated right now because I feel like you're not listening to what I'm trying to say. I feel myself getting short of patience because you're over talking me. I feel myself getting sad because what you're saying is disturbing me. When you say and can say, or even in situations, I feel myself getting overwhelmed. I feel myself being imbalanced. The more that you can be in the now of the feeling that you're having, the more that you can control it and get ahead of it as you navigate through that feeling in that moment. So just try that in situations, no matter whether it be big, small, even with your kids, right? I feel my patience. It was a funny video that I seen, and it was a father talking to the kid, and he goes, I know that you have very big emotions, but daddy has big emotions too. And my emotions are bigger than your emotions. So I'm going to need you to get your little emotions in check. But it was like talking to him, basically saying like, all right, look, you know, that feeling that you all feel, but being able to identify that. So try leading with that when you're having conversations. Instead of saying things like, you pissing me off. You getting on my nerves right now.
I feel myself getting angry.
Exactly. And what the hope does, and what the hope with that is the person that's on the other end, or even the situation, because remember, sometimes it can be a situation where you're talking yourself through something. They will start to adapt and learn to be able to understand. And if they're a person that's really in your life and that cares about you, they're going to ask questions behind that. Mm-hmm. Because when you tell somebody you pissing me off, they immediately get defensive or offensive themselves. But when you tell somebody, I feel myself getting upset, naturally they'd be like, well, if they're not trying to intentionally upset you, well, what did I say that upset you? And it allows you to gain a different level of clarity that you might not have had before. Because I guarantee you, a lot of times, sometimes we don't all speak the same language. We might be talking the same English, but the language of comprehension is different. So that's number 3 is I feel. And then that was number 2 is I feel. Number 3 is a calm down kit, right? So we all have a toolbox, right? I bet you if I went out to everybody's car right now, 9 times out of 10, y'all got a screwdriver, a flashlight, a blanket, some salt, something in your car that's a tool, a hammer. You got something random in there, measuring tape. You got the tire pressure gauge. You have a tool in your car right now. You got a cloth to wipe down the seats after the car wash. You got some tire shine. It's something in your car that you use that you carry around with you to a tool for a specific reason and purpose. Your calm down kit is that same thing, but this is a kit that you're going to put on your phone. It's going to be certain things like it can be a visual instance. So let's say you have a vacation that you went on, or a time or a theme or a place you grew up, or whatever it is that you can look at it and go, man, I remember this, and it brings a smile to your face. It brings a warmth over you. So in that moment where you feel yourself being uncalm, you go back and you look at that picture and that visual. It can also include certain things like music. So if you know, like I have a playlist that I go to, that if I'm down, and here's the other thing too, right? Because sometimes I'm guilty of this, and I think we might all be. If you feel in a certain way, don't go to the playlist that makes you feel more of a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like we all do that, right? Like, hold on, right?
Let me get here.
Right, exactly. You mad at your lady, you go put on Donny Hathaway, you give it up. You know, and then the next thing you know, you wonder why you feel more down, right? So you're
Waiting
right
tonight.
right. You putting on all the wrong things, right? Right. So because the thing that we don't think about is what we listen to, what we watch, all of those things are also part of our diet, right? And so what we ingest in the moment that we're not feeling, like kind of like you said, right? If I'm going to the gym, I know I might not need 2 waffles before I go to the gym, because that might not be conducive with my workout. But now after the gym, it's a good cheat meal or recovery meal. You know what I'm saying? Because I can carb up, as an example. But being mindful of what you need in the moment that is happening is that emotional maturity and sense of it. So again, your calm down kit can be the visual, it can be music, it can be guided meditation. There's a ton of free resources on YouTube. And it don't have to be, when I say meditation, I'm not wanting y'all to take your shoes off, cross your legs. Yeah, we don't have to do it. You can do a 3-minute guided meditation. You can do a 1-minute guided meditation. It's just something to be able to reset you and get you back in a perspective where you stand on your anchor, right? We all are entitled to be the cornerstone of whatever kingdom that we serve and reign over, right? And so with that, we have to be able to stand on that cornerstone and get ourselves back to that square when we get knocked off or shifted, right? So again, it can be music, it can be images, it can be guided meditations, and you can even do how we talked about with the breathing. It can be instructions for that breathing. So you can literally record yourself going, remember to breathe, bro. Do it like this, bro. Let your shoulder, relax your shoulder. What you doing, man? You tripping. Like I'm telling y'all, you would be surprised. And this is something that I say all the time. You talk to you more than anybody else in the world. And we don't think about that. And I'm not talking about verbally where we talking out loud to ourselves. Some of us do that, right? I know sometimes I do that. I try not to answer myself. That's when they say you crazy. But
that ain't crazy.
Right, yeah. So, but
Some of the best conversation.
right? But because you talk to yourself so much, you also have to encourage yourself, right? And so you can record your own self talking to you, because then you'll be able to hear like, oh man, yeah, all right, cool. Let me do it this way. Let me relax my shoulders. Let me unclench my fists. Let me make sure. And then when you hear it from yourself, you'll get to a point where again, it just becomes part of that muscle memory. It's coaching yourself. You be the coach to you, right? It's another way. And then the last thing, number 4, is just connect with others. So just like we're doing now, having this circle, having this meeting, having this to be able to connect with others allows you the perspective to see that it's not just you. It's not just you being on an island. The most dangerous thing that we can do as men is isolate ourselves on an island. Because one of the things that we talked about before is that in this society and where we're at now, there has become a comfort in our silence. You know, and that's a dangerous thing when you really think about it. The power that we have, and you touched on it, the power that we have of creativity, of being able to speak things into existence, of being able to create our own, saying like, hey, I'm going to make a career shift, and this is how I'm going to dedicate myself. This is what I'm going to do to change where I'm at right now. The power that we have with the words that we speak, it should not be a comfort in us being quiet. It should be more so an inquiry of why are you not talking and leading in the way that we know that you can. And so connecting with others allows you to see that perspective. And I'm sure some of you have seen it tonight, right? When you heard what everybody else is going through, Ada, you mentioned it, there was a common thread, right? And that's because this idea that, oh, this is what I'm going through, it's not really just me. This is what my brother's going through. This is what he's going through. Now, it might look different. It might be a different hue or shade, but a lot of us are going through some of the same worries. So again, like I said, we'll send this out. But number 1 is breathe. Number 2 is talk in the now. Use that phrase, I feel. Number 3 is create your calm down kit. And number 4 is connect with others. Those are your 4 takeaways.
Man, listen, those are dope takeaways, man. I appreciate it. If y'all think that's dope, y'all say, yeah, that's dope. That's dope. That's dope. So I got a couple questions. As you was talking, I was developing these questions that I will ask you, and then open up, of course, to our brothers, man. My first question is, do you know when your breaking point is happening? And if you do know, when did you find out? And if you don't know, what are you doing to figure that point out?
That's a great question. No, I don't always know. Sometimes if I'm honest, I'll be in the middle of it, especially when it comes to frustration. Like I can get frustrated and angry, and I'll be in the middle of it and recognize like, all right, let me take a step back. And how I know is either A, the elevation of my tone, or the level of matter of factness in the way that I speak. So what I mean by that is I get very matter of fact. I get very like, well, no, that's not. I'm a very fact based. You know, well, you told me 3 o'clock and it was 3:07. You didn't like whatever it might be.
I get technical. You bring it all the way there.
I get all the technical specifications, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm at that point. I'm at that level. Yeah. So no, I don't always know. I'm getting better at it. And how I'm getting better at it, A, I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for about going just a little under 2 years. But B, there's an accountability that y'all give me, and it's the craziest thing from the last 2 meetings. The amount of intentional desire I have to be better, for all of us to be better. And it's just because of everything that y'all bring, the energy and the conversation and the transparency and it's like, yeah, this is it. I can't really explain it. It's an intangible that I really can't explain to y'all. But like just being a part of what we're doing, it's like, yeah, this is it. This is what needs to happen. Yeah. And the only way that this needs to happen is that I've got to continue to get better. And even if I baby steps. I'm not talking about like, oh, I got to be a guru. I just want to be just move the notch, move the needle a little bit. You know, if I only got $3 to put in the tank, I just want to see the needle move a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like how you get back in the car, you start it up like, hope, all right, moved a little bit. I got off a quarter of them, you know. So that's to answer your question. That's it.
No, I appreciate that. I think 2 of the things that you said was that you do have an understanding of the breaking point, though. Yeah. And I think as we get older, we all do, right? As we mature, and it's something that like I'm experiencing even with my son. He's 12, and he's figuring out his breaking point, right? And then trying to figure out how to walk him through that piece. It's a journey, but it's something that he got to learn too on his own. Like having tools is dope, and I'm gonna take them tools, and we're gonna reinforce them in our home as well. But I'm opening that up to the floor, though, right? Because the other thing that you said that was super dope was, again, we doing life together, right? And the fact that you connected is just like going to the gym. You don't want to go in the gym and can't shoot that jump shot no more after you done told them you can shoot. Right. So now you got to be practicing, right? And that give us that accountability to when I do come back to the circle. I want to be able to say something good, right? I don't always want to, feel like I'm the one that's not getting it. I want to be able to do it. And look, this is what I did to get it, right? And so it gives us that accountability to be better outside of here. So when we come back, we can have more highs to talk about. So I definitely appreciate that. And I'm just opening that question to the floor again. I'll ask it again. Do you know when your breaking point is happening? Do you really know, right? And then if you do know, what are you doing to recognize it? And if you don't, what are you doing to be like, oh, I'm trying to get over this point at this point?
For a long time, I couldn't recognize it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it was because of habit, like responding a certain way. So you get used to doing that, but you don't know. And like when you get to certain levels, you know what I'm saying? You just there because you're used to being there because you've always had to respond defensively. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about earlier, how men aren't appreciated. People don't show appreciation for things that, you know what I'm saying, you can be doing stuff and it's just like, oh yeah, you're supposed to do that because you're a man type thing. You know what I'm saying? And so how people respond to me sometimes it's based on that fact, like, well, you know what I'm saying? Why should I be like this when you supposed to be doing that? So now I'm defensive and I'm mad because I'm like, yo, like I show appreciation to you, but you don't show it to me. Or like I could be saying something to you and you not understand what I'm saying, and then I get frustrated, and so immediately I start going. But I'm not recognizing it as it happened. It's not until after. And I done already tore the club up because now I hit that matter of fact. I didn't hit that, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm like, you ain't nothing. I'm tired of talking to you. And now I'm like, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so then he'd be like, dang, like I just
on that way out there. In that car ride, like, dang,
I was on one.
he was like, dang. Like, then you got to think back and be like, all right, like, well, what did they say? You know what I'm saying, to get me to this point. You know what I'm saying? And so the crazy thing is, like, I started paying attention to it more once I started going to see somebody, talking to somebody. But then it even expanded more when I got married. My wife and even my daughter are like my biggest mirrors right now. And so they always keep me accountable. And with my wife, with the way that she is, because I've always been a certain way with like my family members, my mom, you know, family or whatever, we start talking and then we get like our tone just be like, you know what I'm saying? And it don't always be like we come in with like there's vitriol or we trying to be negative. But when we start to get to a certain place, you get frustrated, you just automatically start going up. So my wife started being like, boom, like this is you.
Right.
And you know, and her response to it was like, you know, now you're breaking me down, like I can't handle that. And seeing her break down and cry because she like, well, I don't know what to do with that. Then I was like,
yeah,
I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't intentionally trying to be like, you know what I'm saying? But I was used to responding in this way. If I felt like you weren't listening or you weren't understanding, or you might have said something that triggered me and I wasn't even aware that this was a trigger. And so now I'm a lot more aware of triggers that started from when I was a kid that I didn't even think, you know what I'm saying, was still there. You know what I'm saying? Because of just the stuff that I had to deal with when I was a kid growing up or whatever. And so my wife has been like that biggest mirror, and even my daughter, you know what I'm saying, now just her growing up and her actually even being a mirror of me, you know what I'm saying, when I was coming up. And then now, so like my daughter be like, well, Daddy, what you said hurt my feelings, and you know, and I'll be like, okay, well, you know, at first I didn't know what to do with that. I was like, well, you'll be all right, you a little kid, like it'll blow over, you know what I'm saying? But then it didn't blow over, and she like still like 10 minutes later, she like, nah, Daddy, you hurt my feelings, and I feel bad now. And she looking at me like, well, are you gonna help me, you know, get better? And I'm like,
fix what you broke.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm a lot more mindful now. You know what I'm saying? Like I can catch myself before it even get to that point. And now that I know certain things are like triggers or even reminders that end up triggering me. You know what I'm saying? I can catch it. I can get ahead of it. Then I can kind of go through that process of, you know, what you was already talking about, because I do it a lot now. Like just breathe, just kind of like, all right, and then I'll process it, and then let me sit on it before I speak, because I don't want to say something in haste. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, if we respond right away, a lot of times it don't always be the right response. We be thinking it is, but for the person on the receiving end, it's not.
Intent versus impact. No, facts, man. You said some really key things. I just want to repeat those. One of the things you talked about was habits. Like, sometimes we can't discover the breaking point because we have a habit that we're dealing with to make that we're not even, you know, aware of a lot of times that we're doing. A lot of times that can be alcohol, drinking, having, you know, sex. It could be watching the TV. It could be whatever you doing to try to numb that breaking point or get through the breaking point, right? You know, because you don't really know you in it. Then you look up and you're like, hey, bro, I've been here for 4 days. I done been and watched 3 shows. I done whole season 6. Right. What's up? Then you like, man, I've been tripping, you know. And so I appreciate that, and also understanding your trigger points. I think that was super dope that you shared, man. Anybody else want to share? The trigger points is really, 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 really key.
I got something quick. I mean, I'm sure we all can identify with elevated volume. You know, whenever you start to like you said, your tone go up, when you feel like you in an argument mode, we already know that we at the breaking point. But one thing that you said and that you brought out that I can identify with personally is, I got a memory like an elephant. I retain very well, you know, I remember everything. So if me and my wife having a disagreement or whatever, I done already pinpointed how everything had already unfolded.
Yeah.
You know, so when she comes with this, that, then I'm like, hold on, that ain't what happened. This is what happened. A, B, you know, I started breaking. So now I can realize, okay, you going to your breaking point when you start being real specific about stuff. So that was, I just wanted to thank you for.
Yeah, you ain't alone. Listen, I'm 2.5 years married, still trying to figure it out, but I'm the same way. See, yeah, so listen, it'd be the same thing. Like,
matter of fact, that's when you know.
They know all your breaking points.
They discover, right? Even your kids, right? Your kids, like you said, like your kids and your wife or your spouse, they mirror you the most. They are you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of times seeing ourselves is frustrating, right? Or it can be like, whoa, wait, I know that ain't me. Right? And like, because one of the things that you talked about was tone. I'm a loud speaker already, right? I come from a family of loud speakers, right? And so like, I can speak loud and be chilling. And then when I'm really up, I'm up, like, you know what I mean? And so like, sometimes I don't mind a loud speaking back to me because that's not a breaking point for me. But I have children and I have girls. When they hear me speak loud, they like, Daddy, you tripping. And I'm like, yo, this is me being me, right? And so now I'm in an atmosphere where there's only one person really that can understand me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna talk to June. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes because he's 12, he even feel it sometimes like, oh, you all tripping. I'm like, man, I'm being me, right? And so, but then when they get to doing it, because it's 5 of them and this girl, so you know they I be like, yo, what are y'all? You know, now I'm tripping. Like, what are y'all doing? But then I hear me all the time. Like, whoa, that's me.
right.
That's me, bro. That's me. I done said that. I done put that in the atmosphere, right? And so being able to see yourself sometimes can be triggering as well, and it can be frustrating. So I just wanted to bring that up. Anybody else want to answer that? Right.
I think with me, like I said, I'm a life coach, but I think with that how I'm hypersensitive to like my behavior, my tone, and stuff like that, because I had to life coach myself first, which was horrifying, but it had to happen. But it helps you, you know, move forward a bit better. And then as far as like communication, or you saying like I feel and stuff like that, that's just every day in my household. Just because like my wife is a therapist, so that's just how we communicate. She's a therapist. I'm a life coach. My mother is an interventionist, so that's just our household communication.
Yeah.
But how you were saying, like how it impacted kids. Now, you know, my sons, they talk to their friends like they, you know, how do you feel, you know, what's going on? They're like, it is, but like
Friends don't know how to process that.
but like, it's good and it's bad because it makes me hyper aware of how many absentee fathers there are. Like when I say my kids, all their friends is like, I gotta talk to your dad, can I talk to you, you know, everything. Like my son, they changed his major now, he wants to be a psychologist as well. Like like I said, it's good, but it's hurtful. Like these kids really don't have nobody to talk to, you know, or even feel comfortable opening up. Like some of them got like, my wife is like, they're kind of, you know, hey, you know, can we have a session? You know, can you talk about mom? You know, she does this. I mean, some of the stuff, I be, like y'all need to. But it's, like I said, it's good because they are in a safe space, but it's also bad because they have to go outside, you know. It's a lot. But to come back to the point, like I'm intentional with how I speak, to whom I speak, everything, you know. You know how they say you are what you eat, you know, it's the same thing, how you talk to somebody, who you talk to, the rooms you in, like everything has to be intentional. Like with me as a parent, like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't cuss. Like I'm intentional with that because, I mean, with your kids, you kind of copy and paste. You say, hey, don't do this, don't do that. But if you're doing whatever, sometimes they'll still do it. But if you talk to someone in a particular tone, you move in a certain kind of way, or things like that. Your kids are built all the time. They start when they're little. They want to walk in your shoes, literally, or put daddy hat on, or, you know, play with, you know, whatever it is. So I just always have that, you know, that mindset. I have to move this particular way because I have somebody constantly watching me. Even if they aren't like directly watching, they're always watching.
They're always watching, always absorbing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something I wanted to interject, because it's kind of come up as a common thing, and I think somebody else over here wanted to answer. Okay, perfect. The brevity of the importance of each and every single one of us, right? If we listen to each other, there is a huge conversation about the impact of not having a father, right? But if we listen to the world, sometimes it makes us feel like we're optional, or our presence is optional. Or, like we talked about last meeting, sometimes there's external things that are outside of our control, or other people that are trying to push us out of the role of being a dad, right?
That's facts.
And the important piece to always remember, whether you're dad or not dad, as a man, the only thing you have to do and must do is keep going. If there's nothing else that, because the society would think that you have to climb Mount Rushmore or be a millionaire or with all these things, but all you have to do, this is a phrase I picked up, it's called be a transitional character. And a transitional character in a movie, in a book, or in anything else is one character that changes the entire direction of the story after that character is introduced, right? So as an example, a transitional character would be somebody to say, I was the first person to graduate college in my family. Now your transitional character, that place that you created, now will create that ripple effect for everybody that comes after you. A transactional character will be, my dad wasn't in the home, and I think somebody touched on it. I want to be everything, and I want to do more than what my father did. That's a transitional character, right? And so now you're creating a new bar that now your kids are going to be like, well, my dad did this, so I have to do this, right? The same thing that you kind of talked about, the norm that you create. So no matter what role you are in life, focus on being that transitional character, because it's not for us. It's not for us. Like, that's the thing. There are certain things that we'll do that we will never, ever see. Like these meetings, right? It's for us now here in the moment. But what we're creating as we continue and be consistent on this will create a space that will ripple far beyond anything that we ever thought or imagined or even realized in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like there's fathers, grandfathers, or people that came before us that they have no clue of, hey, this is what I created, because they never seen it. You know? Like they never seen the ability of what their effort did at that moment. But never allow yourself to be minimized or your light to be dimmed. Because you matter so much to be that transitional character that even when you don't feel like you're making any headway, you're making headway. Even when you don't feel like you're making progress, you don't feel like you're making progress because you're too busy looking here, which is cool. And sometimes when we look forward so far, we don't really realize how far we've come back. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't really realize how far we've came and what we've overcome, because like we always talked about, you're supposed to do that. Oh no, that's just, no, that's, no, I know you saved up and you bought the grandkids land and property and all that. Cool. But really, when you think about the brevity of what that actually means, you know what I mean? That might be 5 generations later, and they be like, yeah, our great-great-great-great-granddad purchased this back in 2023.
Right.
You know? Like my cousin purchased my great-grandmother's house when she passed away. You know? And now that's still a house that's in the family. You know what I mean? But when my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother moved into that neighborhood and purchased the house, they weren't thinking about that. They were thinking about, I want to buy a house for my kids. Not thinking that 3 generations later, there's still a benefit to that. But it's a very long expression, but I want to just continue to stress, brothers, the importance of your presence. No matter what anybody else tells you, and especially sometimes even what you tell yourself, the importance of your presence is monumental. And all you got to do is just keep going. And if you don't know how to keep going, that's why we're here. But like, yo, bro, I need help. I don't understand. I can't figure this out. I'm stressed, whatever. Like, that's the goal, is so that we can all like have each other moving more to be able to be like, hey, look, man, I did this. Because it's like, whatever your accomplishment is, right? I think PD said it best. Our pastor once preached a sermon. He said, I want to be a hero in my own house.
Yeah, that was tough. I remember. Ooh.
I just want to be a hero in my own house. I ain't got to be a hero to the world.
That was tough.
I just want to be a hero in my own house.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a hero in my own house, I don't know what the impact that's going to have, but I know it's going to be a ripple. I know it's going to impact generations.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. That was I'm sorry. I want you to answer the question.
That's phenomenal. I appreciate that, like, very much, and that actually goes to where I would have been, where I was going. I've known my breaking point for a while because my father was in my life every moment of my life.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, I'm the youngest of 5 boys. We were fighters. That's what we did. We Eastside, 7 Mile and Kelly. We all Denby kids. All we did was fight.
They scrap over there.
And
Sure.
he will pull us, and still to this day. He would pull us, and he would show us that at some point we would believe the lie. That would be his way. He's a pastor. That would be his way to express that to us. Was like, at some point you believe the lie. So what helped me even now as a father and as a husband, if I feel myself getting to a point of believing a lie, meaning if my voice reaches a certain level, I believe the lie that it's okay to mistreat my wife. If my attitude changes, I believe the lie that it's okay to be disrespectful.
Cool.
If my first thought is to swing, I believe the lie that this behavior is acceptable. And it's a lie. So he says the full circle is, first you get rid of the lie, then you find the truth. And because he was in our lives, he's a phenomenal man. He is my brother now. We're all ministers, so we say we got to go to scripture. So as soon as any of my buddies come over that I know haven't had a father in their life, that's the first thing I do. Is if they bring up saying me and my wife thinking to call it quits, I was like, no, you're not. You just believe the lie that it's okay. You believe the lie that whatever it is that you're going through, that you're not going to get through it. You believe the lie that you can stay this way. Like, you're not. There's nothing wrong with you. Let's just call the lie out and combat it with what we know to be true. And that's only because he was in my life. And I still desire to be 1,000 times more than what he was. Not because he was bad, but because he set the bar so freaking high that we're all happily married. Ironically, we all got daughters. So they got all sons, but all granddaughters. That's just what God felt like doing. I wouldn't know what to do with a small me. I don't want boys. Obviously, I don't. The thought of a miniature me gonna freak me out. I'm good. But I was happy to have had that model set, because I realized in most circles that I'm at, when I was down at Morehouse, in most circles that I'm at, people didn't have that. It's unfortunate that people just didn't have that I wish more people did. So I'm just trying to be that light. Like you said, I remember that sermon where he said, be the hero in your house. I'm like, I just got to start with doing what I know to do, and then just hope that line shines to the people around me. But I'm very grateful that I was able to find my breaking point, because now I can help so many others that may not feel they either know it or don't know what to do when they reach it. And sometimes knowing it is just half the battle. You still have to respond in the right way. And I haven't always responded in the right way. Sometimes I knew where I was at and still chose to go that extra step, and that conviction, it was tough. It's like I knew I shouldn't have did that. I knew I shouldn't have responded that way, but I wanted my get back. I wanted, I wanted to be here. I'm extremely selfish. And so that's my encouragement to myself, is knowing where it's at is half the battle. Now I continue to take steps into learning what to do when I get there, because it's not enough to just know it. Now you got to know what to do when you get there.
And I want to go deeper on your question, and I always want to be sensitive to everything that is energy-wise that's in the room. Who grew up without their father? Okay. And how does what he's talking about, how does that resonate? If you're comfortable with sharing, how does that resonate? Does it make sense what he's saying? And if it doesn't make sense, how does your perception differ?
Yeah, it's one thing that I've seen that I believe that a father does for a child is they instill confidence.
Okay.
I know that because I like it so much. I didn't meet my father until my mom died. Back in 2019.
Okay.
And he was a good dude. And he was really confident. And I remember having a conversation with him, and I was just saying something like, well, maybe. He was like, no, ain't no maybe, it's you do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, man, but man, I wish I was there when I was there when I was coming up.
Yeah.
You know? But no, it speaks to it a lot because now I'm doing what I'm doing right now with being a husband and a father, and I'm living this life that I didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to, use wise counsel to figure out how to operate this thing because it's not something that I have.
You don't have a blueprint.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't see this. So, but it hurts. Honestly, I could sit here listening to this relationship with his father, and it hurts, man, because I'm just like, man, I wish I could have had that, but at the same time, I know Solomon, he gonna always have me.
Yeah.
My son, 2 years old. That is nothing my wife could do.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing nobody could do to me to take me away from my family because if I don't do nothing else right, I gotta do that right.
Yeah.
I gotta do that right. If I don't do nothing else in this world right.
Yeah.
And can I ask you a question too? Like, where do you get, because I try to help my brothers with that too, like my cousins and people that I call my brothers. When you didn't grow up with something that you are very good at, how do you do it?
God. Yeah.
The Bible is a rule and guide.
Yeah.
The rule and guide to life. It's literally a guide. It's literally a guide map. If you read the Bible as a guide, you don't have somebody to talk to, or you so used to being alienated, or like me growing up, just used to being alienated, used to not being around people, and you're like, man, I don't have nobody to ask this question to, or really just feel like, man, I can't bounce this off of nobody right now.
Yeah.
You go to the Bible because it's like the Bible really taught me how to be a man. Like Proverbs taught me how to be a man, like for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was the Bible, like literally. And then you just another thing too, what I think a father teaches is understanding how to accept accountability and understanding how to deal with accountability, to be accountable, and not understanding that them holding me accountable was them caring about me, not because they was having a problem with me.
Yeah.
And it took me till I was like 28, 29 to really figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's it, God, man.
Man, I want to thank you for sharing, man.
Yeah.
Really thank you for sharing because those are the conversations that's being mistranslated, right? And misrepresented, especially in our community, right? When we look at this generation of men and this generation of fathers, there is a narrative that's thrown out. And there's a narrative that's thrown out against black men. But being able to ask a black man, like that question was, I appreciate you for asking that question and appreciate you for being sensitive to that nature. How do you be good when you never seen how to be good?
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of times we hear about the best people come because it was a role model. It was a map set, right? People say Michael Jordan was the best, so you get LeBron and you get all these other people. What about the people who ain't never played basketball?
Exactly.
Right? Like, and they want to get in the game. How do I get in the game?
I'm sorry.
No.
One thing that I would share that came actually from our last meeting that somebody shared was that, Jermaine, I know you're sleepy, man. He gets giggly when he's sleepy. One of the things that was shared was something similar of trying to be everything that he didn't have. But then what he realized was he was trying to be a father to himself and not be an actual father to, like he was trying to be a father to the little boy that didn't have, as opposed to being a father to his kid. So one of the things that I think I learned from that, and that I would try to also impart and give to you, is coach yourself, be a dad to Solomon. So don't try to be the dad that you didn't have to yourself, to that little you. Be the dad to Solomon, but be the coach to you, as far as that goes, to get yourself through those moments. And like you said, this is how we all coach the coach, right? This is how we all come together and coach the coach, and being open and being vulnerable and trying to get a better understanding of, like, I don't know, so my dad was there. My dad actually came to the last meeting, but my dad was there, but my dad was not vocal, in the sense of I never had those emotional conversations with my dad where we just sat and kicked it about life. I learned from proximity of my dad. Like, I learned from his consistency of going to work and, you know, being like, I can't remember a specific lesson when my dad was like, hey, I want to show you how to do this. But what he did was, if he was working on something, he was like, hey, pass me that. No, you turn it this way. No, you don't. No, this is a ratchet. So you got to, you know, it's like, it was those certain things that I learned. But now, being a dad, it's all these desires that I have, that I want to push the needle and have the emotional intelligence and open up the space. And so I even find myself fighting that, like, well, I'm not dadding me. I got to learn them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a similar thing in the sense of, we don't know, we don't have the blueprint to this mansion or this kingdom that we're trying to build. And it's just like, always keep pushing and keep coaching you. When I say talk to you, I'm telling y'all, you can go through my phone right now. I got so many voice memos of me talking to myself about, and just coaching myself and encouraging myself and just saying, like, these are the things. And a lot of times it's projections. It's not always where I'm at in that moment. If I know that I'm feeling down, I might record myself or go back to a message where things were going good or things were positive or things, because it's like, I know that this is the direction that I want to travel. Wherever I'm at, I don't want to stay there. So it's just that I appreciate, again, same as Ada said, I appreciate you for sharing and being open and vulnerable. That's a big. Did anybody else want to touch on that before we move on? Yeah.
Just like the brother was saying, I didn't have my father in my life, but the confidence, that's what it was. I lack confidence, but A. Y'all probably seen my Facebook post. I always post motivational and I'm positive and do this, be the best, this and that, but I couldn't get that with myself. I could give it to others, but if you tell me, Daniel, you can do da-da-da, no, I can't. But I can sit up there and post, the sky is the limit, but even get above that. Like, I can post to other people to do that, but when it comes to me, I couldn't take it. And my father was in and out of my life, but he lived a different life, and when I got older, I understood he didn't want me around none of that stuff. But as of now, with all my father's grandkids, he lives the stuff that he didn't do for us, he's doing for them. And I got 35 years old and told my father that at that point in time, like, you wasn't there for me. I waited in the doorway. Is my daddy coming? Is my daddy coming? That's something else. I'm God that I'm blessed that my mother never downput my father. No matter how many times he wasn't picking me up, he said he would, he wouldn't. My mother never did nothing negative towards her. Your daddy ain't ish, and he don't do this, and he don't do that. But when my father got older, I told him, you know, you living through Besides. You're not living through me. And he said that's all he could do now. So when it comes down to his sporting events, if it comes down to his school events, if it comes down to any of his grandkids stuff, he's there for me. He was never there for me and my brothers and sisters, but he's there for them. But that was the key thing. When you said that confidence, that punch, that gave me a haymaker on my chest.
Yeah.
Because I lack the confidence, but I'm always, like the brother was saying, life coach. People come to me, hey, Daniel, how do I do da-da-da-da-da-da? I can tell them the same thing and go through that same situation, but I'm not taking my own advice. Because that comes from my lack of confidence.
So how are you fighting to overcome that? Because you have a self-awareness about it, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. We go back, so I know you, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, yeah.
But you have a self-awareness of it, and the reason I'm asking you, how are you trying to combat that, is because I'm sure you're not the only one that goes through that. You know what I'm saying? But are there things that you say or that you've seen the needle move that you've been able to increase your level of confidence in certain areas that you're aware of?
Like you said, years ago at your bachelor party,
Yeah.
that talking to yourself, you still saying that.
Yeah.
That talking to myself did it. I would post something and I would look at it and I would repeat it to myself. Repeat it to myself. And over time, that did bring in my confidence. Now it ain't nothing you can tell me to do. You can't tell me I can't do it. I don't care if it's, and I'm a big Tabria Majors fan. I love that big woman. But you can't tell me I can't have her.
Right.
Or I can't talk to her. I can't converse to her. Now, I look at it even with my son. I'm always making him look in the mirror, saying motivational stuff to him, and this and this and this and that. And his teacher telling me he walk around with his chest out, and that's what I tell him. I don't care what's going on. Keep your head up, look straight. Don't be looking down. I don't care how. When he come down to his kickboxing and stuff with him, I've learned I gotta break that father and trainer role. Cause I be seeing him, I'm about to break him, and I be like, oh no, I can't do this to my son. No, you want to do that? Take them weights, do your push-ups, do your pull-ups, and stuff like that. But that's what was really helping me is that talking to myself.
Yeah.
And that did it.
No, I appreciate that, man. And actually, I want to ask this question to everybody else, kind of what you were saying, and this is the end of the question. And we're gonna leave out with this segment, but the question is, what is the it that provokes your breaking point, right? Like, what's that it that you was talking about? That thing, it's a thing, right? And it could be trauma, it can be father, it can be something else, it could be being bullied, whatever the case may be. What is the it that can provoke you? And you're like, I'm there. And then what did you do to recover, right? And now the reason why I'm asking that question is because a lot of times our recovery is not positive, or it's not a healthy way of recovering, right? And one of the reasons why we hear a lot of times, or recycle is because we're going through what you were saying with the habits. And we got a way that we recover, or we might not know the it, or we know the it, but we recover in a certain way, and it's like, this ain't helping me though. Yeah. I mean, I get through it, but I'm not growing through it, right? I'm getting through it. I'm on the other side, I'm like, it went through it, it happened again, but how did I deal with it? And what was the thing that you deal with it? Whether it's negative or positive, I just want to be able to kind of open that up, and I'll share it, right? Like I've been, one of my biggest things has been drinking, right? I started, and it's crazy because I didn't realize how long I've been drinking and how long I used drinking to cope. I started drinking when I had my first daughter, right? I had my first daughter, and I got set down in my church from doing a lot of good stuff. It was saving me from the streets. When you active in the church, and during that time you be active, you in the church 6-7 days out the week, right? So I'm like armor bearing, I'm youth pass, I'm driving the bus, I'm all types of stuff, right? So like I'm literally going to work, going to school, and I'm in the church, and got a girl, got her pregnant. And of course, that was like the no to do, right? Like, you got somebody pregnant? I ain't want to get nobody pregnant, you know what I'm saying? I don't think we be thinking like, yeah, you gonna get pregnant today. You know what I'm saying? Especially at 20, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't trying to get nobody pregnant at 20, but
You just didn't know how to stop.
I just didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to have sex.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I had a baby, and then I'm like, I'm tripping because now I'm thinking about all these adult things that I gotta do. Right? And all these fatherly things and things that I just never thought about. Like, I'm still trying to go to school, I'm trying to get money, I'm trying to rap and become a millionaire, you know what I mean? And now I'm about to have a baby, and everybody's reaction to that was so, like, it was just a negative reaction, you know what I mean? It wasn't embracive at all. So it made me think like, oh my God, like, nobody like, yo, bro, you gonna be on. It was like, you tripping, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, me just trying to figure that piece out with her, because I kind of knew I wasn't going to be with her, you know what I mean? But she was like my dog. She was my friend. I cared for her. I loved her a lot, you know what I mean? But I knew that I wasn't going to marry her, but we about to have this baby. So now we got to try to figure out, like, what do that look like? I'm doing engagements, like, well, I'm going to marry her because I don't want, my baby to grow up without their daddy and being a bastard. I'm going through all of these different emotions by myself, right? It wasn't no friend group like this, right? Because, who's having babies at 20? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they having them, but nobody really talking about it. And the ones that are, they kind of isolated from the community. They doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? You see a young cat at 20 or 21 kind of working forever, 9 times out of 10 you got a baby, you know what I mean? And so they're not really part of the regular community that you kind of see every day. And so I started drinking beer. I started drinking beer, Coronas, and then liquor and wine, and just drinking whatever, right? And it's been like, okay, I knew when I first started, I'm like, man, I know this ain't right, you know. And what it was doing for me, it was allowing me to sleep and allowing me to kind of express myself, because I wasn't a person that expressed. Rapping gave me that voice. I didn't really talk because I didn't have that type of atmosphere in my home. It was do what you say, do what you're supposed to do, and you figure it out, right? And so drinking, when I was drinking, I'm encouraged now. You know what I'm saying? They call it the spirit for a reason. Right. And so you gonna hear everything. You know what I mean? They say what they say about a drunk man. You know what I mean? He's speaking sober thoughts, right? And so I'm in that. You know, oh, you heard me, huh? Oh, you finally heard me. Let me get some more of that courage, because you're hearing me. You know what I mean? And then it became a thing, though. Right now I'm in this habit, because now I get these breaking points, and I'm drinking, and now I'm hurting people. Right? I'm hurting people that I love. You know what I'm saying? I go through a marriage of 9 years where I drank through the marriage. Right? And I know I've hurting her a lot of times through the marriage. You know what I'm saying? I've drank with my kids. I know I'm hurting them a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? And so I haven't been drinking since the beginning of the year. But I've had to realize that, right? Like, my breaking point came from like this frustration of I got a lot that's about to happen, and I don't know how to do it. So here it goes. And it became that to the habit. I wouldn't even call myself alcoholic. Like, he's like, you alcoholic? Like, bro, I'm good. Like, I still pay my bills, you know what I'm saying? Like, like I ain't out here like, I need it, you know what I mean? When you think about the alcohol, that's what you gotta think about. I don't smell like it, you know, I still smell like Javachi, you know what I mean? Like, I don't look like it. I can afford the shoes I want, right? But it became a coping mechanism. It became a way that I dealt with the breaking point, or figuring out the it. And so I wanted to share that, because that wasn't a healthy way, and it hasn't been a healthy way. And so I'm in a way of trying to discover how to become better, and I need them tools. You know, them tools is dope. So I wanted to put that on the floor, right? Like, what is the it? You know what I'm saying? That continues your breaking point, and how have you been recovering from the breaking point?
Before we get off of that, absolutely. Thank you, man. Yes, sir. See you soon. Before we get into that, I want to make sure we are clear on your it, because what I heard you say is that your it was surrounded by confusion or lack of not knowing which direction to go.
Facts. So, like, being overwhelmed.
Okay.
When I'm in a space where I don't feel like I know what's about to happen, right? And so, like, not being sure, because as men, you know, the know is like the thing, right? We gotta know. And so that was becoming my it. Anytime somebody asked me to do something, anytime somebody wanted me to do something, anytime somebody like, hey, you see me doing this, but then you want me to do this and do this and do that. It was like, all right, forget all that. You know what I'm saying? We go holler at my man, you know what I mean? Jamie, because Jamie understand me. You know what I'm saying? Jamie, we go get together with Jameson. Right. There's too much to do over there. I'm gonna just sip on this and not do nothing. And then you look up and you still gotta do it. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? But it was the way I was coping with it. You know what I mean? And so that was my it, like just being frustrated and being overwhelmed with things to do.
Is anybody else, is that identified? Does anybody else have that it, as far as like what takes you to your breaking point, whether it be confusion or being overwhelmed?
Yeah, mine is chaos.
Okay.
You know, after my father died, I grew up in a very structured home.
Yeah.
When he died, I was 13. It was all automatically just chaos. I had to be in the house when the street lights came on. All of a sudden, I'm standing outside talking about, come on, street light, come on. I dare you. Because I just had freedom.
Yeah.
And with that freedom, the house became very chaotic. And I moved, was hanging out with 13-year-old boys on one side of Dexter. Moved to the other side of Dexter, and I started hanging out with 13-year-old men. You know, before I knew it, I was, like I said earlier, a 9th grade freshman at Cass Tech to a 9th grade dropout, hanging out on Linwood. But the chaos at home, it was so chaotic that I began to drink to not see when I came home.
Mm.
And then, when I got married, you know, they have this saying that you marry your mother or your father.
Yeah, yeah.
I married my mother, unknowingly. I proposed after 2 months
Okay.
Wow.
and spent the next 8 months planning the wedding. So when I got married, we had only been together 10 months, had never lived together or anything.
Yeah, that's tough.
And I mean, to make it through 26 years where we are now, you know, it's been a lot
Yeah.
I'm sure.
on me.
Yeah.
Situation where my wife is the equivalent of the absent father in the home.
Man, that's
You know,
tough.
I've done everything with my children. You know, even the playground trips, Barney,
Yeah.
that's all me. School, my children never rode a bus to school because they've always went to application schools. But that puts a lot of pressure on a man. You already had the pressure on you as a man. Then when you take it on the road of what your spouse should help you out with, puts a lot of pressure. Then the chaos at the home.
Yeah.
So I had stopped when I was drinking a lot in my youth, went to prison, everything, came back home, had to come back to my mother's home. You know, I was in prison, you know, everybody, I can't wait to get out of here.
Yeah.
When it was time to get parole,
He's like, I don't want to go.
oh my God, I gotta go back to that growing house.
Yeah.
And so when I began to see my wife maintaining the same type of home, it drove me back to drinking. Took me back to my childhood.
Mm.
And so even now when we talk about that stress and finding ways to deal with the stress, you know, I go to the gym.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to anything but jazz. You know, I don't want to hear words. I just want to hear jazz that take me away. I'm now at that point where I don't want to be married anymore. Because I've carried and carried and carried, and what about me? What about me in my life? You know, I have 2 children, but I feel like I've raised 3. And the one that isn't mine has been the most rebellious.
Yeah.
So, that's,
Thank you for sharing, man. I appreciate that.
Have there been? Because that's a big point, and I think I told you 2.5 years, so I can't see 26 years down the road. Is it a situation where you feel like you're in the ring and fighting alone, or is it a situation where you both are in the ring and fighting different fights?
no, I'm in the ring alone.
Okay.
I've told my wife for the first time, right before Christmas, that when our son came home for Christmas, we need to sit them down and explain to them that we're getting divorced.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever mentioned divorce to her. And so when we sat them down after Christmas, and I took all the weight and said, I didn't say we were getting divorced. I told them I was divorcing their mother.
Man, I did.
You know, and I know, and I even explained, I know you're gonna be angry, but I know they know what I've been through. You know, I know they know what I've been through, and so it's been rough. And you know, I'm 62. I told her at that 20-year anniversary, I don't want to spend another 10 years like this. Now, it's been 6 years already, and nothing has really changed, you know, so.
I get that. Have you,
I could be lonely by myself.
I was gonna say, I understand that. Yeah, that's big when you have somebody there and be lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing. If you feel like you've thrown your entire self at it, it's a very difficult thing when you don't have that reciprocity.
My wife herself would tell you that she came first, my children came second. I've never felt that I've come first.
Mm.
You know, my wife would rather grab a tablet or a book
Yeah.
than sit down and talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the priority grid. Remember the priority grid?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
So the priority grid is how it should be, where the priority grid should be God, husband, wife,
Right.
children.
Yeah.
And what happens with the priority grid is that men and women flip it around different ways. So as men, we go most of the time God, job, wife, children.
Or children, wife.
Or children, wife. We invert it that way. Or parent, yes, or parent, right? So we invert it that way.
And the wives is God,
Children.
Right.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
we at the bottom of it.
Yeah. And so
We at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, everything.
and so when that priority grid is out of order,
Yeah, you feel
it creates the chaos, which
Yeah.
is, like you said, it's your breaking point.
Yeah.
And so I definitely understand that. Well, I can definitely tell you, like, it's a difficult, no matter what. Like, there's difficult on either side of the equation, right?
Yeah.
He'll tell you, I will always continue to tell you to keep fighting and try to
facts.
figure it out. I've told him that still to this day.
Don't fact.
He knows. But I also understand because it's like at some point, it is a situation where the thing that we all have to learn as men is to create proper boundaries, right? And proper boundaries when it comes to love and affection means I can love you, but I can also understand that you're not good for me in certain areas and aspects. And that could be friends, that could be, family, that could be loved ones. Like, everybody deserves love, but not everybody deserves access, right? And that's the difference of how it's hard to navigate and learn, right?
No.
It's like I deal with that, like, even with my mother, and our relationship, I deal with that creating boundaries because it's like, I love you, but there's a track record and a pattern. How I described it to my therapist is I said, my mother is a pencil and I'm looking for her to do pen-like things, but you can't get pen-like results out of a pencil. And that's not a negative, that's just understanding. Like, there's certain shades that a pencil just can't do that a pen can do. And so it's like when you get to a point where you understand that, now you have to formulate and create those boundaries. But the other thing too is you have to be willing to continue to shift as long as that other person is willing to continue to shift. Because, especially in marriage, we speak two different languages. And that's the hard part. It's like it's always a decoding and understanding of the language. Marriage is that big equation of, it's literally, here's what it is from my 2.5 years, right? It feels like being in a foreign country. And the thing that you have to do is figure out one thing. If you ever been like in a country where they don't speak the language, why do we always start yelling or talking louder when people don't understand the language that we're speaking? You ever notice that?
Do you understand the word?
Right, like we start speaking slower and then we start speaking louder. It's like, no, I can hear you. I'm not deaf, I just don't understand you. So because I'm in this foreign country, right, my choice is one of two things. I either stay the way that I am and continue to communicate and yell and make sign language and hand gestures, or I try to learn the language. And that's the hard part, because I don't know that language is ever changing, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's the hard part of like trying to figure out, how to understand the language and the form. But that goes for both sides, right? That goes for both sides. Having the desire to understand, okay, I'm in a foreign land. Do you want to understand my language?
Right.
Or do you want to just yell and hand signal at me? But if you want to understand my language, then I want to understand your language. And if we both have that desire, we can meet somewhere in the middle. What's that, Justin?
So, bear with me.
Yes.
You've done this for 26 years, right?
Yeah.
And you said you could be lonely on your own. I would like to offer a counter of you don't have to carry these people forever, especially a woman who raised your children. And I would tell you it's the hardest thing in the world, and you'll beat yourself up. And you know there's a lot of reasons to stay, but the truth is you don't have to carry her anymore. And like when you walk from that, it's just I just went through the same thing. You know when you realize she ain't doing a damn thing, you're doing everything. You taking your kids to places, and you start covering for her. You know, and you have given all. You are at the bottom, and like somebody says, you know, she's trying to become God. Like some females will try to replace that entire system because we're supposed to be there for them. You can walk, bro. You don't have to speak the language, and the freedom you feel, especially because what you said about loneliness, really. I spent a lot of time thinking about that Charles Bukowski quote. You know, when you come home, then there's nobody there. When you're not accountable to anyone. Is that freedom or is it loneliness? And I think I figured out the answer, which is once you're okay with loneliness, and then you'd be surprised how nice it feels a year, 2, 3 years down the road when you still that father, you still that dad, you still there for them, but you ain't got that weight that just destroys your life. Because, and I mean destroy. These girls will do nothing, and you will carry that bitch for years. And I'm sorry about my language, but we need to change the dialogue because men are carrying the weight right now. And just like they want to leave us, they left and done everything, deuces. You have your kids, you'd be surprised because there are real women out there who will love you back. And you'll find, you don't have to go looking for it. They'll come to you with your you, because they recognize that, they know that. And I just think that sometimes the dialogue needs to switch to, we've done carrying them. You got your independence, go get a job. Do you, and it just, I see these men struggling to cater to a woman's needs when they put themselves above the kids. Like you said, you drive, you're doing everything, you put all your time in. You don't have to do that, man.
I think what I'm hearing from both is finding that peace, right? And that peace comes from self-growth, right? And one thing that these are important because, like we were saying earlier, man, we wear a lot of hats. What we don't do is stop for ourselves. When do we say, "I'm gonna stop for you" in the mirror, right? And being able to figure out what do you want, because we depend on people a lot of times as men. We can become codependent because we are the person that a lot of people depend on. So a lot of times we think that system's supposed to work for us, right? I think sometimes we think that our kids are supposed to give us the gratification. Our woman is supposed, our job's supposed to, because we are the code, because we are the ones that do that around. But we also have to do that for ourselves. We have to stop and say, yo, what do you want? What do you need? And how do I get that to you, brother? And you talking to yourself. How do I get, Antoine, how do I get that?
Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next time. Remember, this is greater than me. And yeah, that's it.
Peace. That's the word, man.
Peace. That's the word.
Peace. Peace and peace.
Yeah, peace and peace. Yeah, that's it.
There, go right there. Close your eyes and hold these.
Baby, you're a queen.
Just close your eyes and meditate on those words.
Brother, you're a king. Baby, you're a queen.
If you hear it, sing it to yourself.
Brother, you're a king.
Hey.
Baby, you're a queen.